There was once a man who wanted to climb a mountain. He stood at the base looking up. It felt impossible, too far, too steep, too much. He thought, I need to train harder, be stronger, wait for the perfect day. So he waited, and the mountain never moved. So one morning an old woman passed him on the path. Her back was bent, her steps were slow, but she kept walking upward. The man asked, How will you ever reach the top like that? She smiled. One small step at a time. I don't climb the mountain. I just meet it, little by little. The man watched her go, expecting her to turn back. But she didn't. Each step was small, barely a stride. But she never stopped. Days passed. He stayed at the base, planning, thinking, hesitating, and every morning the old woman appeared again. A little higher, a little quieter, a little closer to the sky. One evening he asked her, Aren't you tired? She nodded. Of course, but resting is not the same as quitting. Then she said something he'd never forget. Big change doesn't need big moves, it needs small steps repeated with love. That night, the man sat by the path. He looked at his shoes, untouched, clean. They had never taken a single step toward the mountain. He realized he was waiting for motivation, for clarity, for the right feeling. But what if the right feeling only came after the first step? The next morning he didn't feel ready, but he walked anyway, just a few steps. Then he stopped. But the ground felt different now, not because it had changed, but because he had moved. It wasn't much, but it was something, and something repeated becomes everything. If this story reminds you to take that first small step, subscribe and tap the bell. Change begins with one quiet decision. Each day he returned to the path. Some days he climbed with energy, other days only a few slow steps. But he kept going. He stopped waiting to feel like it. He stopped measuring how far he had left. He started noticing how far he had come. One morning he saw the old woman sitting on a rock sipping tea. She smiled. You've changed. He looked at her surprised. I'm not even halfway up. She shook her head. I didn't say you've arrived. I said you've changed. Because now you're someone who moves. He sat beside her, breathing heavy but smiling. I used to think change had to be dramatic, he said. A big leap, a breakthrough, a moment that fixes everything. She handed him a cup of tea. No, she said. Real change is quiet. It doesn't shout. It builds, like water shaping stones, slow, steady, patient. She looked at the dirt on his shoes, the ache in his legs, and for the first time he felt proud. Not for how far he'd gone, but for not giving up. He realized the step that matters most is the one you take after wanting to quit. Years later, he stood near the top of the mountain, not at the summit, but far beyond where he once believed he could reach. He looked down at the path behind him. It wasn't straight, it wasn't fast, but it was his. People asked him, "What was your secret?" He said, "I stopped chasing progress. I started showing up." And then he added, "Every small step matters, not because it gets you there quickly, but because it keeps you from staying stuck." And with that, he took one more quiet step, not to finish, but simply to continue.